Story 1. Grandmother-in-law claimed to be a psychic medium. Weird things happened when she passed. My now husband and I were living together in a small apartment when his grandmother passed away. She claimed to be a psychic medium and challenged a spirit guide in readings. Her Parkinson's and dementia really was getting to her near the end, so I never experienced a reading. Also, I'm pretty skeptical. I tend to believe what I see and experience, but do believe that unexplainable things can occur. My husband sleepwalks and talks often. I usually can tell when he's still asleep. Well, around 2 a.m. he shakes me awake saying, "Babe, babe. Look, look, wake up." He didn't sound like he was sleeping, so I begrudgingly asked what he wanted. He points to the darkest corner in the room and happily says, "Look at the white woman." Then he turns over and peacefully goes back to sleep while I'm entirely spooked. This same occurrence happened 3 additional times. I was too chicken to look and my response to him started to be, "Nope. No one is there. No thank you." To this day, he doesn't remember seeing anyone. But now we have a son who occasionally looks at dark corners and laughs. Husband says it's probably just the white woman, who I assume is grandma's spirit or energy, but still I don't like unannounced guests.
Story 2. The Blue Boy. I was fairly young, probably about 12 years old. Me and my family were up in Scotland visiting family. On the way back, we stopped off in a place called Alnwick, in Northumberland to visit the infamous Chillingham Castle. My uncle who lived in Berwick-upon-Tweed was very much a skeptic of the stories of the castle and claimed he slept there overnight. We got to the doors and my parents paid for the tickets for the tour. On the way in there was signs saying, "No flash photography," which I noticed. The tour was amazing, so much history and especially the dungeons, where they had on display all the instruments of torture that was used in the castle dating all the way back to the 1200s. At one point in the tour however we were walking past one room called the Pink Room, which was roped off, where I saw a blue flash of light inside. I looked at my mother and said to her that I thought people had got into the room and were taking photos and that it was naughty as it wasn't allowed. My mother agreed and we continued the tour. On our way out of the castle, my little sister begged for a book of the castle and its history. My parents gave in and bought her the book. On the way back home my sister mentioned that there was a section in the book listing all the known ghosts of the castle, one of which being known as the Blue Boy, which is commonly seen as a blue flash or halo. The owners of the house believe that the Blue Boy is linked to a child's skeleton, which was found hidden behind a wall in one of the rooms of the house during renovation, the very same room I saw the flash. My mother looked at me and said, "I think that's what you saw, son."
Story 3. The Living Painting. Growing up, we had a pastoral painting displayed in the living room, in which a shepherd was shown, leading his flock through a pasture land. It was a rather generic artwork, but my father liked it, as it had been a birthday gift from his ex-wife. My mother called it crappy art, but tolerated it because its green, gold tones complemented the paint decor she'd chosen for the room. There were 3 notable things about this painting that I began to notice in early childhood. 1. The shepherd was badly drawn, mostly just a caped figure with no real features. 2. He was leading his sheep in a circle, rather than through or away from the pasture. Why would he do that? And 3. If you happened to glance at the painting at just the right, or wrong, moment, you sometimes got the impression that the shepherd was slowly turning toward you as the sheep milled around. I mentioned this to my mother, who reassured me it was simply an effect built into the painting with brushstrokes that simulated movement, but I wasn't so sure. Especially when that shepherd, slowly and almost sinisterly, turned his featureless face toward mine. There really isn't a denouement to this tale, except that after my father died, my mother shoved the painting to the back of one of our capacious closets, saying she never really liked it, or what it represented, my father's prior relationship. But, later in life, she admitted that the painting gave her the creeps too, especially when the shepherd would seemingly turn the painted patch of his face in her direction, ever so slowly.
Story 4. The Bedside Visitor. This incident goes back quite a ways to the mid-80s, when my mom and I were sharing an apartment on the north side of Chicago. There was nothing distinctive about the building, except it was a little more aged than most, being built around 1910 or so. Without a doubt, it had seen many tenants in its 70-plus years of existence. From the beginning of our residency there, Mom would ask if I ever noticed a man walking around the apartment, not a flesh and blood man, but a spirit one. Now, I must explain here, Mom had psychic abilities ever since she was a kid, and was able to see what others did not. Furthermore, she had the ability to communicate with the spirit world on some level, so as time went on, I wasn't entirely surprised when she began telling me more about our invisible roommate, including the fact he'd died so suddenly, he didn't know what happened to him. Meanwhile, in a manner that seemed unrelated, I began developing a habit of waking at 3:15 a.m. 2 or 3 times a month. There was never any particular reason for it, i.e. needing to go to the bathroom, or having a leg cramp, it would just happen. So I was not surprised when one night, around that time, I stirred from sleep. The only thing different was I felt the presence of someone next to my bed, but even that wasn't unusual as being a lifelong asthmatic. I was used to Mom occasionally checking on me, to see if I was breathing all right. Therefore, not even fully opening my eyes, I said reassuringly, "I'm fine. Go back to bed." There being no response, I looked closer and saw a white figure standing about a foot away. Being severely nearsighted, I didn't really make out features, just a general shape which I interpreted as Mom in her floor-length nightgown. "Seriously, I'm fine," I reiterated, reaching out to touch her. But as I did, my hand came in contact with something that felt like a stiffened arm draped in ice-cold cloth. I screamed, in the understatement of a lifetime, "Holy shit, you're not my mother," and leapt from my bed. After dodging the immobile figure, I ran crying, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" down the hall, till I reached Mom's room and flung open the door, which hit the wall with a bang. "What the hell's going on with you?" she demanded, a bit surly from being awakened in the middle of the night. "That man," I cried. "You know, the one you're always talking about seeing? I think he's in my room. At first I thought it was you, but then I touched him and he was cold and stiff. Like a dead person." Then, though I was in my early 20s, I said I couldn't go back there, and begged to sleep in her bed the rest of the night. "Of course, you can stay here," Mom said. "But don't be afraid. That poor guy doesn't mean any harm, he's just confused as to why 2 people he doesn't know are living in his place. He remembers having severe pain in his arm, but refuses to acknowledge he dropped dead of a heart attack. That's why he's still here, unable to move on."
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to help support the channel.